Hello and welcome back, most illustrious members of the detail. I'm your host D, also known as MTF Doom, and today's video topic, as asked for by friend of the channel, Grackleflint on Discord, is interaction overrated? I hope you enjoy. Just before we get into it, we're so close. We are 9 subscribers away from the face reveal. That'll put us at 200, which would be just a wonderful number to hit. I thank you so much for everyone who supports. If you find my content elucidating, enlightening, or enriching, the best way to let me know is with a subscription or a Discord join. The Discord is thriving with all kinds of really great ideas and conversations and, anime and memes. Come join. Where it's not a cult, I promise. Okay, so this isn't a deck list. I preface all these with this isn't a deck list. This is not a deck list. This is just different forms of interaction. Some of it kind of passive, like Baron Mordo. You're not. This isn't really a gotcha. It's still interaction though, right? You're setting one of your opponent's cards to cost 6, so this can be really big. I actually think Baron Mordo might be kind of good right now because I think everyone's kind of trying to play cheap like pop-off decks, and setting their hitmonkey to 6, we'll say, is kind of a beating. It's not, Baron Mordo isn't always good. You don't see him very often. This is going to be a theme. Same with like Scarlet Witch, best card you can be playing, still not always great. Stuff like Green Goblin is tech against Galactus. It's explicitly tech against Galactus, but even so, there's a lot of decks that just want to use all their slots, especially in a certain lane. If they're doing Wong stuff, they probably want both the slots. If they do like Wong Mystique and then you're like, here, hold a Goblin, they're not like super happy about that usually. Same with Cosmo. Obviously, Cosmo and Shang and Enchantress are kind of the explicit ones that everyone thinks of when they think of interaction. But and probably Arrow right until she got nerfed. But I think everything here counts, and obviously there's more. But for our purposes, we just want to all be on the same understanding of what we're thinking of when we think of interaction, right? Which is just a way to disrupt your opponent's game plan meaningfully, right? And so the question posed is interaction overrated? My answer is actually yes, but it's more complicated than that. And we covered this a little bit in the Sunspot video, but the problem really isn't that interaction is overrated. It's that the best decks are really resilient to interaction. And I mean, like, the Shuri list is extremely resilient. Armor and Cosmo completely shut down almost all relevant forms of interaction. Certainly all the ones we have access to. Someone pointed out that when I was talking about pool 4 and 5 cards, I was like, Shadow King doesn't really have a spot. Someone pointed out that technically Shadow King can depower a Red Skull through an armor, which is true, which is technically true, but you then still have to win that lane having deployed so you see the issue that I'm gonna get at, right? It's that, like, oh wow, your opponent Sandman on 4, and you can follow up with an Enchantress and nothing else on 5, and so then on 6 you could have your turn back. Like, you see the problem, right? You understand why this is not a winning line of play. And it's really interesting to me that Enchantress was such a good card through Pool 2 and, like, into even a couple months ago. Enchantress was kind of like a must-play for a while, and she sees no play. Like, Enchantress could be a 4-5. Enchantress could maybe be a 4-6. I think she's, on par. The ability to remove ongoings from all cards, that's yours as well. I know you build around it, and you can even have that be an upside for you. I don't think that's notably better, especially right now, than White Queen, right? Than getting a random card out of the highest power random card out of your opponent's hand. I don't think those are functionally that far off. And this is so much tempo loss. Like a 4/4 for 4, right? Well, a 4, yeah, I don't know. I still don't understand how to denote Marvel Snap cards, because in Magic you say XY for Z, which is power toughness for mana cost. Anyway, I'm off topic. The point is that it isn't really that interaction is overrated. It's the resiliency of the threats. The questions need better answers, but if the answers are too good, the game isn't fun. And I talked about that also in the Sunspot video. And what I mean by that is, again, in Magic, there's this trend of like every creature also like functionally, we call it on reveal in Marvel Snap. It's called ETB in Magic, enters the battlefield. So when a creature enters the battlefield, it does something. Almost every creature in Magic, because removal has gotten so good, there's kind of this arms race. So it's like, well, okay, I'm going to cast something for 3 mana, and my opponent's going to use 1 mana at instant speed, so they're going to get it back on their turn, because energy refreshes every one of your own turns in Magic. Your energy refreshes. So you can imagine Sunspot, right? You had the option of holding up your energy and either put it at the end of your opponent's turn. You choose to either put it into Sunspot and give him +1, or destroy one of the things they played that costs up to 3 energy. Like, Magic's literally like that. And so what happens is every card has to, like, every creature has to be, oh, if it's a 4/3, this better say, like, when it enters, destroy an opponent's card and draw you a card or something, so that when your opponent destroys this, you're still up a card, because, you know, even though you're down energy because you spent more than they spent. Like, it's gotten so pushed that everything has to do everything. And that's kind of, I think, what people asking this question are feeling. It's that when I started into Pool 3 and I was watching other content creators more, Educated Collins pointed out that, Omega Red is one of the best tech cards you can play, because your opponent, you know, never sees it coming that, oh yeah, you're going to overkill this lane, but then you're going to get +4 power at the other locations. How, like, again, I'm going to use this word, how quaint, +4 power in the other locations. Like, we are already experiencing players maximizing how much power they can output to such an extent that the need to overkill this lane by 10 just to get +4 in another lane just seems like, oh, this is abysmal. This is such a bad rate of return on my investment. Why am I doing this? Yeah. And I feel like it feels that way with everything. It's like, you know, okay, I can Shang, but if I don't have one, I can almost never Shang my opponent because they've protected their 9+ power. If I can Shang them, I better also have priority over this 26 power in one lane, because otherwise they're still going to get to Taskmaster and get 26 more power somewhere else. It's just like, how quaint to play a 4/3 that destroys a 26 power play and still lose. But that's really what it feels like, right? And I don't really have the answer. Like, I don't know. Like, because as I've said before, if you make Cosmo like a 3/6, so he's like a playable like threat on his own that just has this ongoing, well, the game's going to become abysmal really fast, right? If Enchantress is like a 4/7 with that effect, so that like the downside of like, oh, I'm not playing something that I have to silence the ongoing off of isn't even really a downside, because you're just playing like a kind of fair 4/7. Like, the game just gets really unfair. It gets so hard to like play. Wong is already so hard to play because of the threat of just like an errant Cosmo ruining you. And like, your opponent doesn't have a Cosmo, so they just retreat because they're like, yeah, I can't beat a Wong, I don't have a Cosmo. It's just very binary in that way, and you know how much I hate that. And so, yeah, is interaction overrated? Kind of, but maybe by design. And I don't, like I said, I don't really have the answer to that. I hope that it gets better. I hope that they decide to rebalance and maybe even give more options to pool 2, especially. Like I said, I think Super Scroll, I mean, what? That's dropping to 3. That's fine. Goose should probably be a pool 2 card. Like you should just have evergreen access to Goose, I think. Any card like that, any card like Cosmo really should be in everyone's toolkit. It's kind of silly that it isn't, but it's a whole different video. So yeah, that's the answer. The answer is, it's also that like people are more privy. Like, you know, I love my favorite thing in the world is my opponent going wave on 3 and just projecting. Like I know they're about to Galactus, and I have Magneto, and it only costs 4 because everything only costs 4 next turn. My favorite thing in the world is to snap on them and pull that wave into the, you know, lane that they're gonna Galactus, and just ruin their day. That is my favorite thing. But players are more privy now, and I think that's another part of it. The people in my Discord who are asking this are asking it because they're getting better at the game, and they're playing against more people who are privy to when their outs are just not going to work, and like, you know, what beats them. And when you snap on someone because you have a Shang and you know that you're going to beat them, they also kind of know that you have a Shang and they're just going to retreat, and so it feels even more compounded. But that's the nature of the beast. I guess that's it. That's all my thoughts today on this topic. I think I covered it pretty well. If you have anything else you'd like to add, you know, add it down below. I appreciate everyone who brings anything to the conversation. I was wrong about my short last night. I rushed because the App Store said that one of the updates, one of the parts of the update for the app was that there was an update to the token shop, which I took to mean that there was a series drop. I don't know what it means, but there wasn't a series drop. So I had been pinning my Black Panther in hopes that it would drop and I could see if it costs 1,000 tokens instead of 3. I was just wrong. Black Panther's still Series 4 right now. He just is. So, you know, appreciate people who point that out. Thank you everyone who reached out with kind words about hitting Infinite last month. That was really nice to hear. I try not to overhype it because it seems in poor taste, but I was pretty hype. I was really gunning for it, so I'm like glad I hit it just to prove to myself that I could, because it feels weird. I'm going to level with you. If you're still here, you're probably someone who, you know, might be interested in hearing this, but it feels real weird being like a YouTuber talking to people about how to get better at the game, but then not hitting Infinite. It feels kind of disingenuous, even though, like, obviously I already prefaced that you should take everything I say with kind of a grain of salt anyway. It still feels kind of weird. It just does. I can't help it. So it helped me legitimize this to myself in a way, which was cool. I appreciate that I was able to do that. So, okay, that's it. Thank you so much for listening, especially to that last outro ramble. If you find, again, my content elucidating, enlightening, or enriching, the best way to let me know is with the subscription, the Discord, the comment, the like, all the things that everyone else already asked you for. And it's so silly, but it really does. Every time I ask, I actually, like, it works. It's like it's notably different asking versus not asking. And since we're still, like, you know, a very small channel, I'm gonna keep asking, and I'm sorry if that annoys you. I hope that you have a great day, and I will see you all tomorrow.